Today's guest, Tiffany Touchstone.
Yes.
Yep, it is. So we're doing a lot of things here on Lunch Break 2.0, new season. I think we're looking for Mr. Producer Mike Harvey. We're in episode 6 or 7 of second season. He's shaking his head. He doesn't know. So I'm just going to make it up.
It's so good.
I think we're in 60.
Well, 60? Okay. So that'd be...
Would that be 10 of episode 2? Or season 2, episode 2?
Using my math, that'd be 8, episode 8. How about the teacher here? 60 episodes.
Do you want that in Common Core math, or would
there
you
we
like
go.
it in?
There we go. Now there's 2 words. There we go. That's good. Common Core.
I will tell you this. At my house during the pandemic, my wife was teaching math. She was teaching Common Core, and I was looking over her shoulder. She goes, "Do you understand it?" And I walked away.
Yeah. I do not.
Second grade, by the way.
Yeah,
Second grade.
She put that in there. Second grade. It wasn't 5th grade or 6th grade. It was second grade.
Thinking. It is. It's a different way of looking at math.
It is.
Yeah.
So we're moving right into second season. And if you would like to ask questions, you could do it on our Facebook Messenger, facebook.com. And we are The Real Lunch Break on YouTube. Is that a mouthful, Tom, or what?
It is, but I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening on this podcast.
A lot of good
people
stuff.
need to see it.
You also can catch us on Instagram. So at The Real Lunch Break Show. That falls off my tongue really easy. The Real Lunch Break Show.
Because there are imposters out there.
Tom's saying I've got a real radio voice today, and so...
It's because you're trying to be soothing for your wife, I think. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. It's like I first met her. So our question from our audience. We always thank you guys for coming in, and if you want to ask questions, please feel free to ask those questions. But we had Doug Lohman, our pastor Doug Lohman. It was such a treat for me because Doug was my mentor, had a lot of great things, and Doug brought up he brought up a fact that through his salvation, he gave up smoking marijuana. And he talked about how it was when he woke up the next morning, how different it was, how he felt different in every routine. You know, there again, it was Doug's words. He was saying everything he did before that was done while being on marijuana high. And he said everything was becoming different after that. So the question from our audience was, how do you start living out normal life after sobriety? That's the question from the audience. And I can't answer that one, but I can tell you this, and I always talk to a lot of people. My wife knows my journey. But when I was in my athletic years, you know, I did show a shirt that I used to wear, and you wear it sometimes, the 5X. The 5X. Well, it fits me like a bed sheet now. But I used to fill that out. So coming down from a 5X into a normal shirt, maybe a large or medium, you know, as I started that transition down, I'd look in the mirror and I didn't recognize that person looking back at me. And it was a hard transition. I even think when you knew me, I was still making that. And so it was really hard to wrap my head around. I was always used to seeing another guy in the mirror looking back at me. And I just remember it was one day at a time. Basically, it was just getting to know the new me and enjoying the new me. Yeah. It really was, because I found other things that I was good at besides just lifting weights and just being a meathead. And so I found it refreshing, but it was different. I had to kind of come out of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you would first pose this question and I started thinking about, you know, because I've never had like an addiction necessarily of...
You even talked about one time you were Tom, you are a thinker. You are. But you said you thought about not doing things while you were in high school, so you didn't have to look back when you're older and regret them.
Yeah, because it's always been something. I've had morals somewhat, and I always knew where I wanted to go. But I think in that, I you know, in high school. I mean, this is going to sound really maybe cocky or arrogant or whatever. I had a great high school experience. Everything I wanted to do. There's somebody who goes to our Northwest campus, Ed and Laura Wright. And Ed's daughter, Gabby, who was I think she was a senior when I was a sophomore or something like that. Anyways, she took me to prom. and a sophomore at prom. Like, I was like one of the only sophomores there. I felt so cool. And I was really close with like the seniors, super great class. And then that just kind of steamrolled. I did ASB, and then I was super close with the senior there. He helped me, this guy named John Moore, does some agriculture stuff here. And actually him and I go to the same gym. And so we actually catch up from time to time. But it is, he steamrolled me in, he helped me with my speech in, to be ASB president. And I just killed it. Like the whole crowd, like, you're the guitar guy. And then like ASB president, I was homecoming king. I was,
oh my goodness.
I was,
Okay.
I had a great, my high school experience.
I was waiting for that to come
You know?
in.
And then like defensive captain, you know, starting linebacker, like I had a great high school career, and then it was one of those things, like I turned 19, you know, I went to the parties, like I knew everybody, like it was great. But then like, it was like, okay, now I'm going to follow Christ, and I know nobody. And nobody knows who I am. And it was like this idea of like really giving away like what you knew, what you were comfortable with.
Yeah.
And honestly, like my best piece of advice, if that's something you're afraid of losing, if that's something you're afraid of, you know, whether you're trying to give up your old way of living or your old friends, like you said, it's just one day at a time.
One day.
And you've got to get yourself around the
For sure.
people that you want to be like. And, you know, fast forward now, and it's just like I don't know necessarily why I was ever afraid of giving that up, but that's more or less my piece of advice.
It's like notoriety.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I do think a lot of high schoolers, and Tom, you're, you know, pretty much an expert on that because you have come out of our high school ministry.
Yeah.
So when kids make that transition, sometimes you see them get lost.
Yeah. And that was also something too, like I never wanted anybody, you know, because in like the testimony, like I never told our high schoolers that I was all those things I just said here, because that's not what it's about, you know, and it's about following Christ. It's about having a life that you're proud of. And yeah, having that notoriety, man, there is something about people knowing who you are that can be really, like, you know, addictive or something that solves that part of your life that you want fixed. And so coming out of that and just, you know, day by day making these little decisions, you know, sitting at your coffee table with your Bible, cup of coffee, and just saying, God, I want to know you more. It was just, I just did that day after day after day. I remember going to a Bible study because I wanted to get, and nobody knew who I was. And I kind of expected somebody to know who I was. I don't know why I thought that, but it was like, it's humbling. Yeah. It's humbling.
Well, you know, no, people can't live up to that reputation forever.
No.
People still call me Mr. California, and I'm like, I don't look like Mr. California anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, let's get over this.
Yeah, right. Turn the page.
I shared in Vegas a while back, and my wife's known this journey, that I was a cartoon fictional He-Man.
Yeah.
You know, and I portrayed that, and, you know, I'm like, come on, we got to move past this.
Yeah.
I'm not He-Man.
Yeah.
Never was He-Man.
Yeah, right.
So what I would say to answer this question is same thing. I wouldn't say, I mean, I definitely had my years of partying, but
She did.
thankfully gave that up. Yeah, I agree. One day at a time. And I think the question was posed, how do you start living a normal life? It's replacing, taking those negative things, whatever they are, that you're addicted to, and replacing them with positive things. We know that's a scientific method.
It's a replacement.
To replace, yeah. So that's the advice I would give on that question. But more than anything, maybe obviously fill it with Jesus, but find some others that have walked through that same journey of sobriety with you. Yeah. Because they're going to have really good advice versus someone who's not dealt with addiction.
Yeah. They'll have good advice, or at least they'll be there for you.
Yeah. To listen in the struggles. So.
Well, I think sometimes it's almost like losing something. I know, Tiffany, as you came out of the hospital, I mean, that was a time in our life where, you know, I mean, you came out, you know, you went in with a lot of things figured out, but when we came out, there was a lot of questions.
Right. A lot of complications. And so I'll just go back to, you never really know what something's like until you walk in those shoes, no matter what the situation is. So with that person's question, until you know what addiction feels like, with having an illness, until you walk through those shoes. So for me, talking to someone that's going through a health crisis, I walked in those shoes. So, you know, I think it's the best thing is knowing someone that's walked through that.
Yeah, right.
I remember, if I can talk about it, when we came out of the hospital and you had an ileostomy.
Yeah.
And what it was. It was just a whole experience. They said 6 weeks, and it was 6 months.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's not fun.
No.
Your intestines are hanging out the side of your stomach. No. Thanks for sharing that detail, Tom.
Well, we're getting
Do
raw.
we really want to go there?
But I think it was
well,
something.
I think to the unknown. Like every time, what was supposed to be 2 surgeries ended up being 5 or 6, and it just then came the anxiety and the fear and not knowing what would happen next.
Sometimes we were just
as a number in your head.
Yeah, sometimes we were just happiest for the small things. But I do think, Tiffany, and I think this goes for the audience, some of the biggest joy, I think, came when we'd go on the elevator. Was it the 6th floor with the Ronald McDonald floor?
The pediatric ward?
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't leave my room, so it was you.
It was me.
Went.
So you would always put it in perspective, and I'd come back and I'd tell Tiffany, when that door would open up and you would see somebody, because the gowns would open up in the back. And you would see somebody walking, holding an IV pole, and they had diapers on, and they were maybe 3 or 4 years old.
That's awful.
It would put things in perspective, and we'd come back up and we talked about it. And
yeah, just to know that children were going through something that most adults couldn't even handle. So
so it would always put things in perspective for us, and we'd always we had a walk that we'd do. So I mean, it was just one step at a time. And there again, if you're going through stuff like an addiction or getting used to a new normal, can we call it a new normal? Getting new normal, it's good to have somebody around, having a confident. It was at us, and I think I think our marriage grew a lot.
Yeah, it was a whole new level of depth. I think that when you go through something like that, definitely. Yeah,
when she came out, she had to adjust a whole new job, whole new way of thinking. It was just it was a big deal. So
rough year.
Yeah,
it was.
Well, even going along with like that real quickly, just my wife's a nurse, with what we do as far as being involved in people's lives. I mean, when you start to hear about how some people, what the struggles they go through, my wife will tell me, oh, I had this kind of patient today, or this thing happened, and I'm just like, I can't believe some of the things that people are going through. And it does help you to not get so mad when your son throws all of his cereal on the floor. Right. It helps you to put things into perspective when it's like, hey, we only have $20 in our bank account. It's like, yeah, well, this person came in and their foot was split in half, and it's like, oh my gosh, surgery. There's all this, it's just little things like that can really help you. So like, as far as this question was posed, getting involved in things that are bigger than you, with the holidays coming around, getting yourself to help people, giving out food, giving out presents, trying to find people to help. That could be another way too, to have a new normal, and see something new like that. So,
Yep. Well, I'll take a selfish minute here and say I'm on TikTok. And my producer, Mike Harvey's helped me with TikTok. But today, I was sharing the fact...
Give yourself a little plug, why don't you?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Speaking of helping people.
By the way, why don't you click that notification button right now and get those bell notifications?
My idea today was no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I was thinking about Peter Nalis's ministry of building schools. He doesn't build a school and say, oh, yeah, by the way, we're Christians. Builds a school, helps educate kids, and finally somebody will tell you or ask you why you're doing this. I mean, you get that in public school, don't you, Tiffany?
Yes.
Why are you doing this? And
why are you doing it the way that you're doing it?
Yes.
What's the catch here? Like, there's no catch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we are actually glad to be supported and partnered with Lucky's Rescue.
Yes.
So today we have a puppy, and his name is Forrest. Forrest is going to come up there. Now, Forrest is not yet available for adoption, but I think in a few weeks he will be. But Forrest's mom, Cammie, came to Lucky's Rescue a few weeks before she gave birth, and she is an Australian Shepherd mix.
Cute.
They do not know what the daddy is, but Meredith and John do a DNA genetic test, so they will have the results up there, real quick. So, we do have some dogs and some animals from Lucky's Rescue, and they have some precautions on it, like not cat tested.
Yeah.
And I want to just know, why can't we just cat test them?
Yeah.
I think Teresa, one of our guests, said that. Let's test them right now.
Yeah.
Great organization, though. And so if you want to adopt a dog,
Lucky's Rescue.
Contact Lucky's Rescue.
Absolutely. And I think we have the tag right there.
Yep.
So, Tom, you're sitting in the co-host seat today, so this is a question that you...
I am, and I thank you for having me on here because I've known Tiffany for forever, and so...
Define forever.
Oh, man.
Probably
We were a lot younger. We were a lot younger. I felt, I can't believe I'm 31. I just put it that way. I can't believe I'm 31.
I think I'm twice your age.
I work with a lot of young people, so.
I was bought in until that moment.
But yeah, no, I mean, Tiffany, you know, outside of you, Pastor Tom, outside of Brad, I think Tiffany was one of the first to believe in me and give me an opportunity, give me a platform. I helped out with, oh man, the youngest of kids right there. It was junior high at the beginning, but it kind of just rolled over into doing worship for the little ones too, and chapel for the little ones.
Tiffany was principal of Valley Schools at the time.
Yes.
Valley Schools, and
she was impressed with you. I know she came home. I don't know if she was trying to build me up or you up or what, but she was very impressed with you.
Yeah, and so known you for a long time, and so you know, normally there is this question of what is something interesting about you, something that people may not know, maybe like on a majority level, maybe your close friends know, but maybe people out there are just like, what? I had no idea.
There's not a lot of people that know me super well because I have to keep some of that kind of guarded.
We do.
Of course.
But let's see. There could be, I mean, where do we want to go with this?
Something fun. Don't gotta be too serious. Like,
my goodness. Well, I have a side business with one of my good friends.
Ooh, she's dropping that on air.
There we go.
But it's more of a hobby, I will say.
It is. It is. Her hobby has ran over into my children's bedroom.
It's a stress reliever.
Good. Good.
Let's see.
So we're not hearing about the side business.
Maybe later.
Okay.
That's a whole new show. That's a whole new show. Mike, producer, let's do a show on that, okay?
Didn't start out in education.
Did not start out in education.
Communications.
Okay.
For a CPA firm.
Okay.
Love crime dramas.
Okay.
Goodness, what else?
Is that a female thing?
I didn't.
My wife is obsessed. She has a whole bunch of friends.
I think it's a personality thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you get along with my wife, so okay, that makes sense.
So, I mean, there's
so nothing things. Like you were born with like an extra toe or.
I rode. Like I used to barrel race.
There you go.
Barrel race.
Yes, she did.
A little cowgirl for a while. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Before I did
She's
the
got
rocker scene.
Yes.
I can like blend with the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
Our producer wanted me to find
no photos.
No photos.
No videos.
My producer Mike Harvey wanted us to find the picture of you with big hair.
Yeah.
And used to drive in the car.
Everyone had big hair. Everyone had big hair in the 80s.
Sure.
But remember you would drive. What kind of car did you have in the 80s?
A little Daytona.
And you would sit there with your friends, Michelle and Tina.
Yeah, everyone had big hair.
And you couldn't see anything else in the car but hair.
Tina had it?
Yeah.
Really? Tina was my best friend from like 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
She is.
That's crazy.
We have some crazy stories, but.
That's for another show.
That's another show.
That's another show. Stay tuned, lunch break.
Yeah, and just, I mean, you guys know Tiffany married to Pastor Tom. That's the one you know.
And punched him.
Mother of 2 daughters. But there was life before that as well.
There was.
I've never shared the story. She crawled out of her bedroom window and pushed her car down the street just to get in it and take off.
Gosh, my mom hears this. Yeah, so that was at 15 before I had my license.
Wow. Okay.
That's a terrible example to tell kids that might be watching this, but yeah.
This is what not to do. So at 15, you snuck out of the house, which is harder to do now.
Yeah.
You can't really do that anymore.
And stuff like that, but yeah.
If any motion goes on.
Just crazy. Small town people. I went to Arvin, so you just do crazy things.
What does going to Arvin? What's that mean? What's that mean?
It just means a small town school. Like
gotcha.
If anyone that's gone to a small town school, they just know that you have to be pretty creative in your
escapades.
And what keeps you busy.
It does.
So there could be a lot of stories there. But anyway, those are a few things.
Okay.
I gave you a little more than
That's
one.
good. That's good. Normally we just get one. And so now we know.
Oh, another one. I met my biological father after not knowing him for 50 years.
Yep, 50 years.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's how many years.
That was
Well, I met him when I was 21 once, and then met him like 45. Yeah.
Her sister found her.
I was going to say it was
two half sisters. Yeah. That found me. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Her half sister worked for the CIA.
Yeah.
She did.
Oh, and that if I could have picked another profession, it would have been that.
Really?
Yeah. Or
I
medical.
love this.
So.
Yeah.
I love this.
You find out all
This is
kinds of
this
things.
is great. This is good.
Yeah, good stuff. But as a lot of people know, I mean, she met a handsome man. I think we have a picture of him right there. And
God.
they're getting married and started.
Oh yeah, your guys' wedding photo. Look at that.
Look at that.
Bring that
Big-
hairstyle back, both of you. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom. I think you used to have long hair. Let's go
I
there.
did, but we weren't prepared for that. So, wow.
It is.
Wow.
And was that in town? Was that in Bakersfield?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
At
It was.
another local church.
Yeah.
Whose idea
we're-
was it for him to carry you?
Probably the photographer, I'm sure.
Okay, that just seems like a hey, you're a bodybuilder, lifter.
Yeah.
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 everything.
Yeah. So we were going to get married at Valley Bible Fellowship. Pastor Ron did our ceremony, and then we did something very Valley Bible Fellowish. We ended up with pink and purple pews,
Turquoise.
turquoise pews.
Pink and turquoise.
And so I remember having to go to Pastor Ron and saying,
I was
"Hey,
like, that is not happening.
my wife-to-be wants to move the location of our wedding."
Really?
And he goes, "It's the pews." I go, "Yeah, it's
Really?
the pews."
They were
They
really
clash.
ugly.
Wow.
They clash with everything.
Wow,
Yeah. So it was a moment. So
that's cool.
we did. And I think next we have the girls.
Yes.
Yeah, our girls. I think we're at Taylor's graduation.
Best
Tay?
job
Tiff?
ever. Yes.
Why just the two? I have two. My wife wants more.
I wanted more. I got
We did.
sick. I
Okay.
ended up getting diagnosed after we had Tessa, and so health problems and
They told us
medications.
no
They just said it would be a really high risk situation.
with the
Yeah.
medicine she's on.
And I think more not so much for me, but like I didn't want anything to be, like the medication I was on to,
Have an
harmful
effect.
to a child.
Mhm.
We had always talked about having 3.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh,
wanted
I
3.
did not know you guys are such a. I see just this foursome group, and
Yeah,
it just
no.
seems right.
Nope. The
Would
girls.
like to try to have that boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The girls always talked about that. Why didn't you? I'm like, well, we were going. We were gonna swing for the fence.
They were all going to be 3 years apart. So,
Yeah.
But yeah,
That was the teacher's plan. 3
Yeah.
years apart.
Yeah.
3
Right.
years apart. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
had other plans, but that's okay.
Yeah.
He did, and I
Because
think
now sometimes I don't think I could handle another one.
Yeah.
This
Really?
adult
I
child
do.
rearing is
I
difficult.
know.
And as we jump down into, I think the next picture, I think Tina Haddad. There's your best friend
My best friend for a long time.
since you were in
Yeah.
high school.
High school, yeah.
Yeah. Still together all these years.
Such a just wonderful, genuine person inside and out. Never changes. We can go long time and not talk, and then those friends that
Heck yeah, I got a couple of
you
those.
love. Those are
Yeah.
Right back up.
great friends.
Yeah.
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 So, and so my wife and I always brag on her because she's very educated. She believes in education, which we do believe in education. Our girls both have gone there, and so Tiff's had quite the extensive experience with education and work experience.
Yeah. Want me to talk about that?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, so
a lot of people don't know. This is about you. I know
well,
about you.
yeah, didn't start out in education. Started out in marketing, and just found that I wasn't. I guess it was that passion wasn't really there. Honestly, I don't even remember college that much because the things I was
Really?
I didn't
Really?
even go there.
Really?
But I
Just all
got
blur to
great
you.
grades. Yeah, it was anyway. So then,
and she-
you're in this job, and you're all of a sudden like, do I
And she
really
held
even
down
like
2
this?
jobs.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
So
She's very smart.
Yeah.
So realized I didn't like it, and I got a word from church. These old Valley Bible people will remember this. They used to do this gift of the Spirit night,
Mm-hmm.
where they would a Wednesday night have people come up and like give a word.
No
And this
way.
teacher got up and said, if you're praying about a different career, I
forgot
really
about
encourage
this.
you to become a teacher because we need more Christian teachers out there. So I was like, okay. So I went and enrolled in the credential program. I had to take a test to waive 1 degree for another.
She took a
it.
test to get a degree.
Well,
I
I
didn't
just
know you
waived
could-
like 84 units. So I took that, started the credential program. I was pregnant with Taylor, but I just did it part-time. And so then I finished when I was pregnant with Tessa. And in the meantime, he went on staff at the church. And so I needed to work part-time. So I started teaching at their private school that they had. So that kind of led into what happened with the elementary and becoming the principal there for 10 years. So
wow, I had no idea.
yeah.
I had no idea.
So that's kind of how that transpired. And that was an amazing experience. I have family, as we call it, for life. Our family, outside of our family, that just great friends that cemented relationships that I think we all, I think when you serve in ministry like that, it cements you together. You know, we all believed in the same vision. And so it formed this bond that became really close amongst a core group of us. And all different ages and, everything, but just forged this bond that still carries on.
They still have it to this day?
I was going to say.
Yeah, despite, leaving the school, and we all actually ended up leaving and going into different areas.
Yeah. Well, I remember even just helping out and just seeing how close you guys were.
It was
there
special time.
And every now and again, like I've just seen, just over the years being at the church, you just see that when a group gets together and you kind of just everyone meshes together, there's something special about it. It didn't happen all the time, and so like because there was a crew that we all kind of helped out in youth ministry at the same time, and it kind of sounds a lot like your friends, where we all kind of landed in different areas right now, but we just pick back up as soon as we see each other.
Yes.
And your people, though, there was something. Did everybody kind of have a similar story to you, or did everybody want to be teachers? Did you just know people
there were a couple
from
younger ones that had been on the path of education. Terry, different. She had been a very successful loan mortgage officer, and so then the crash happened in 2008, and so she left the profession, and she was a parent at the school, and so we pulled her in. We got Monica. She was at the church and then not at the church. So we took Monica and so there were all these different combination of stories.
It sounds an awful lot like the way your husband works.
Yeah.
Are you a team person too?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Interesting.
100%.
Well, some of the team that she had at Valley is with her still.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Teaching.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they all kind of gravitated somewhat
I
toward you.
think we were all looking for where our place was, and to know that you could go into a whole new world, that we had been in private for so long, and to go into public with someone, a friend, because it was totally new territory for us because we had been in private education for so long, and man, then it just blew wide open. So.
And so then I can't really remember all the details. So after Valley, what happened?
Well,
I can't remember.
because you can't just walk in and get a admin position,
right?
If you haven't done your time in public. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And I took the first job offered to me. It was a teaching position that I found out about from a friend at a place I'd never heard of. And I just said, okay, I don't know what you're doing, God, but I'll do it. And it was second grade in a rural community. And so took that and did 6 years in the classroom. And through the years, a couple of my friends came in and out, and then some of them went on to other districts. But I do have a couple really close friends that are there with me still. And then about 2018, we got this amazing boss, and he just became a mentor to me, and just really taught me so much about the profession and leadership in the profession. In the public arena, and so I just stuck to him and kept working under him, and then I thought, I have to become like a TOSA, and then a vice principal, and then a principal, and then he called me this summer. I had been in the classroom, was going to go into kind of an admin position, but not anything like a superintendent, and he called me over the summer and said, Tiffany, I got a job I can't pass up. It's all yours.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like you need to be the superintendent and the principal.
Yeah.
And he goes, even if it's just an interim position. I said, okay. And so we met 4 hours one day, and that was it. And he was gone.
Really?
Yeah. He went on to a huge district down south, and which I got to have lunch with him today. And so
good.
he's so amazing. But anyway, so, I still think he's my mentor for my profession. I still call him with questions. But anyway, so here we are. And the board signed off on me, and they decided to offer me a full contract.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So so fun.
So from my perspective looking in, it looks like you have always had this kind of leadership mentality. Have you seen yourself as a leader?
I don't feel that way. I think just a team player, and like just why are we doing this type thing,
I think something that's cool at the house is her and I have these conversations all the time. Mm-hmm. When I used to be the overseeing the school, she was the principal, and we'd have staff meetings every night. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we knew about each other, we were team people.
Yeah.
And we always believed that, hey, we'll do for them what we would want them to do for us. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of followed suit.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's interesting to sit at this position with you two, because in seeing each other, just did you rub off on her? Did she rub off on you? Like, and just to see that these two like-minded people, and just where you're at now, and hearing how you've got there, and your girls and all that. It's interesting to watch. I've seen the monuments. I haven't seen what's gotten you to those monuments, and so it's cool to hear those behind the scenes details.
It's a lot to do with our passions too. So I just had a passion for education, where he had it for ministry. Mm-hmm. And at one time mine blended over, but I wouldn't even say I'm not out of ministry yet. I found out there's so much more ministry out there.
Yeah.
Outside the church walls, than I found sometimes inside. So something that maybe 20 years ago you would have asked me, would you do? I would have been like, no. And now it's just great. And when I say great, not every day is great. We've had, post-pandemic, just trying to cope with all the
distance learning,
and just it's been very stressful. And sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? But I don't think you can pass up opportunities like this. Mm-hmm. Like, you're crazy if you do. And so I had to take it.
Yeah,
that's something for audience to hear. You don't want to always pass up an opportunity, especially if you don't see down the road. Mm-hmm. There's certain things that you probably want to think about, because it may be the road that you want to travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tiffany, is there anything else left that we haven't said that you would want to say? I mean,
well, it's just there's just so many weird things that happen that it's so God. I mean,
trusting God, I think, is a big one.
Trusting God, and like, you don't always see it in the moment, but later you see his fingerprints on things. We have Esther out with us working at the school, who was a former student of mine, and that by how she got hired is so crazy. Like, that was just God. You can't explain it. The other day I'm in the lunchroom and I hear a girl talking to our students. She was a sub out there that day, and I'm like, and she pulled down her mask. She's all, Mrs. Touchstone. I'm all, Gigi?
Yeah.
And it's just these crazy, I'm like, these are like kids that we poured our lives into, when they were little, and now they're in their 20s, and it's just so weird. But despite having 2 chronic illnesses, I think you can't dwell on the bad stuff and that thorn that's in our side. We all have one, and so you have to move past that and work through it. And that's just a part of who I am, that I have these illnesses. The rest of it is doing these other things. So
right. But in the moment, though, because I'll have conversations with my wife that there are some moments that are really, really dark, and you don't really see the end. And I'm sure in that moment you didn't really see the end. How does anybody see the end, or even fix their eyes on what's ahead? Because I'm sure there were some days where you're just like, okay, this is hard.
Yeah, no. I think it's like we said earlier, it's a day by day thing. It's like step by step.
I think one of our biggest moments were when she had a test, and we were going in the elevator, and we were met at the door by another doctor, and the transportation person pushed her gurney out, and the doctor pushed it in. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, we're going to save your wife's life. And we didn't know what was going on. He got in the elevator and took us down into an operating room. And I remember getting out, and they were giving me this business, like, get out. I turned to Tiffany, because we really felt that, hey, this could be it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was that moment that a husband and wife will have. Turned to her, and I said, are you ready, basically to meet Jesus? And she said, I was.
Wow.
And so it was that moment that we're here today, but that was a real moment for both of us.
Wow.
Yep.
But it is hard. I don't think you always have the answer when you're walking through it. But that's where the faith comes in. So I couldn't have done it, though, without my family and my friends and the church in general. The church was really there for us during that time.
I remember one night she had surgery, and I don't know what it was. I walked out in the hallway, and here come Pastor Ron and Josh. Remember that?
And I'm like, I don't have makeup on. Isn't that funny? A girl can always go to that.
Yeah,
like, I'm
right.
like, you're in misery, and I'm
I peeked
I'm
out.
throwing up.
Yeah,
Don't come
yeah.
in here.
And here comes Pastor Ron and Josh walking in the hallway, and they really locked it down. I was like, how'd you guys get remember the big guard
Yeah,
that was out there?
It was
It's like, how'd you get past
late.
him? They go, he wasn't there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a whole nother story.
But gosh, so much to talk about with
Yeah.
that. But yeah, just keep pressing on. And
Mm-hmm.
God
Moving
has-
forward.
I think God has a story for everyone.
I think he does too.
Absolutely.
Well, I love it, Tiff. Glad you were here to join us today. Tom, I love that you co-host.
It was a privilege.
Glad you
Yes,
guys tuned
thank
in
you.
today. And we'll be back with lunch break.
Hit that notification.
That's right.
Get those
Have a good one.
bell sounds.